sexiest thing in the entire world is being really smart.
Welcome to Smart is Sexy, the podcast where we discuss self-development, love, business, spirituality, and becoming a smarter, sexier human. I'm your host, Kelsi.
And I'm Celeste. Welcome to our show, y'all. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and send to a friend. Today, we're discussing anxiety, talking about what causes it, what anxiety even is, because it's kind of an overused term, and then also the difference between giving yourself grace and then kind of falling victim to your own symptoms. So we're going to get into all of that after Good News Minute.
Yes. First of all, really quick, I would love to point out the way we're both dressed in the exact same fit, but then also the way we're both sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
yeah.
Like the leg up.
We're matching today.
We are matching.
You're in an all black sweatsuit.
We're matching, but it's like always just a little bit different of a vibe.
Yeah. Well, today my vibe was breakdancer, as you can tell.
Breakdancer.
Based on the hat and the baggy
So you
sweats.
went really specific with breakdancing.
Yeah. I just feel like that's what I looked like. And that's not what I was going for. I'm never really going for the breakdancer aesthetic. But
today you did.
I just wanted to be cozy.
Okay.
This was the best I could do. I hadn't washed my hair. Okay, first things first. Good news minute. What is good news for you right now?
Okay, well, my good news minute is my new snail mucin. Is that how you say it? Mucin?
Yeah, snail mucin.
Okay. Well, I have succumbed to the pressure of buying into TikTok.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I have been influenced.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm of age. I am of the elderly age. That I now have to start looking at mature skin things. And so I've been coming across, like the 22-year-olds, and like that's super great that you look like that at 22, but like at 30, almost 32, like our skin's different.
Yeah.
So I have found a few people who are like in their 40s and they were using snail mucin and their skin looks insane. So I've been using it, and honestly, you guys, it is in our Amazon storefront and you need to go buy it because it's incredible. I don't even care if you're 22. Like, you should still go buy it because it is my favorite thing. Also, I don't know, you also bought it.
So I bought it, but then I got my face microneedled, so I can't use any skincare for another couple days. Yeah.
So it's weird. Like, if you like mix it with your hands, you like pull it apart, like it looks like stringy.
Yeah, it's from snails.
Yeah, but it's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's my favorite thing. It is in our Amazon storefront, and I honestly highly recommend adding it to your skin routine.
Yeah.
I tried to get Mans to use it. He's like, I'm literally not putting that on my face. So
well, it's so funny because I feel like all the young girls now, they get all the pro tips. Like, we didn't have that growing up because we didn't have like social media, so you just had to like go to a drugstore and like hope for the best. Like, we didn't know how to layer skincare or like what serums to be using.
I was also talking about this with someone. I don't even feel like skincare was like that big of a thing.
It was not
until like the last like 2 years where like it really popped off.
It really took off.
But skincare was like you washed your face and you like threw some moisturizer on. Like, if you were really with it, then you put SPF on every morning.
Right.
But like none of that has been a thing until
even when I was in high school and growing up, like no one was like SPF. Like, we didn't even know those things.
No, you used Clean and Clear on your face.
Neutrogena, you know.
That scrub that is so bad for your face.
No, seriously, like we didn't know. So I'm like, all y'all are lucky.
No, so the snail, honestly, I'm interested to watch like the 16, 17-year-olds that are right now, as they get older, how much better their skin will be than ours, because they will have had more time taking care of it.
True.
Yeah. All right. So my snail mucin, I think you guys should all go buy it. Yeah. Men, women, they, them, non-binaries, whoever, you guys all need to be using it.
Okay. My good news minute. Big news. We got a dog. And by we, I mean me.
Yes.
I got a wiener dog. His name is 40. His name is 40 because he needed a trap name. Just because being a wiener dog, he didn't have like a ton of street cred or like he didn't come off very, like threatening. So we named him 40. So it's like,
does he come off threatening now, like with the name?
No.
Okay.
No, he doesn't. But we did name him that. He has a lot of nicknames already. None related to the name 40. I just feel like his nicknames are random.
Do you feel like potentially like giving him all the nicknames, like he won't then answer to his name?
I mean, it's possible he's confused. I mean, my nicknames for him are really random. Like, I've been calling him like Beanbag.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, I mean, so I'm actually, hold on, I have a few questions. So you were like, I'm going to get a little weenie dog, okay, who also is like literally smaller than a rat.
Yeah, he is.
And then, like, he's the size of a hamster.
No, he's like Ratatouille. That's another nickname.
And then you were like, giving you the name 40 because like apparently that's a trap name. I was unaware. Sure. I think that's just a number, but like, okay.
It's a trap name.
And then you're like, but you know what? You are not only going to be a little trap dog, that you're a wee dog. I'm going to name you Beanbag.
No, but that's not the only one. Like we have Beanbag.
But what about that gives
Sneaky
him any
Link,
street cred?
you know, because he's like a link, like a sausage.
But what about any of those things gives him any like street cred? Because like realistically, like Beanbag, you like who in a gang is ever like, this is my homie Beanbag?
I mean, we just don't know, you know. So
okay.
And the possibilities are endless. So, but he has a lot of nicknames. And so that's my good news minute. I got a pal. I had been thinking about getting one for so long, and I only wanted a weenie. So here we are. He's like 11 weeks old. I'm definitely dealing with like the puppy blues, which is where you're just like really overwhelmed and stressed out. Because he's like a handful. It's like having a newborn. Also, I saw some comments on TikTok that were like, a puppy's way harder than a newborn. I was like, whoa. So anyways.
Well, if you ever decide to have kids, then you're prepared.
Then I'll know.
Yeah.
But no, he's great. So that's my good news minute. Also, like a few people have DM'd me being like, oh, you guys look alike. And then like one of my friends, I was like, we do not look alike. And he was like, no, you guys have like the same disposition. Like,
you guys are both really low to the ground.
It's true. We are really low to the ground.
Like he's low to the ground. You're low to the ground. Do you also get pee when you get excited?
No.
that doesn't happen?
I phased out of that one. So that one doesn't happen to me.
Yesterday when Celeste picked me up from the airport, I got really excited to see 40 because I hadn't met him yet. And then I think he got excited by my excitement and then he peed on me a little.
Yes, he did. We're working on that.
No, it's fine. It was just funny because I was like, oh, I think we had a little bit of an excitement.
Yeah, we got excited.
Yeah.
Well, guys, welcome back to the show. We really do our best to do every Wednesday, but sometimes it gets challenging.
Yeah, and it is hard just because I'm gone so much. So, like, we have to,
and we just like to keep you guys on your toes. Will they drop an episode?
Will they not?
We just don't know.
No, we have no idea. But I wanted to first recap I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. That was our February book club pick. And I loved it. I listened to it. I honestly forgot that it was our February book club pick because I read it in the beginning of February.
Same.
And then I read it. I finished it in like 2 days.
Same.
Because I listened to it on Audible.
Same.
And I really liked her voice, like narrating the whole thing. Because I felt like you really got a sense of like, you really felt what she was feeling in the book. But I'm hoping some of you read it, or maybe if you didn't, like maybe no one's participating in the book club. Maybe it's just like a book club for the two of us.
No. A lot of people I've seen like them post or DM me about it. So there's definitely other people.
Good. So the book I thought was incredible. The book has been on like the #1 like best-selling book in the United States for a while now, and I didn't know anything about her before we read it. I mean, I knew she was on iCarly, but that was it. But her story is like really, really sad. And also I felt like it kind of goes into like how like the actions of our parents really do affect us down the road, like as adults. And I just appreciated her being so open and honest about her whole experience with her mom. And I felt like it really did feel like, wow, parents can screw you up. Yeah.
So for anyone listening who didn't read the book, this is about Jeanette's story growing up as like a child actress because she was on iCarly. And this is about dealing with her mom, who's definitely a narcissist and I would say mentally ill based on the story. She doesn't ever call it out, but like based on the way her mom was treating her and the family, I definitely think something was a little off.
Yeah. Even like in the very beginning, how she talks about her mom was like hoarding things. It seemed like her mom had a problem of getting rid of items in their house. Like their house, like she alluded to their house feeling very cluttered. She didn't even like being at home. Like her favorite place to go to was church.
Right. And so she tells that story and being a child actress, and she didn't even really want it. Her mom like forced her into it. And so it's really interesting. Obviously, when you see the title, you're like, oh, that's a crazy title for a book. You know, I'm glad my mom died.
Like but like good for her because like talk about being catchy. Like it really got people.
And it's great because it gets a lot of attention and people are going to send it around and everything. It's actually a genius name. But yeah, I mean, and it makes sense when you hear her story. Like, you completely understand why she feels that way. And I just love memoirs. I especially love memoirs of, like, girls because, like, obviously that's who I relate to. But, so, yeah, I did the same thing. I did on Audible. And honestly, if anyone's listening to this, go listen to it because you'll finish it in, like, a day and a half. But it's, like, it's such a good story, you know?
It is so good.
Here's so much.
Yeah, we also, you're welcome, give you 30 days free on Audible so you guys can go listen to it for free. But it was really incredible. So there's one part, and I don't know if like you were listening to, that she starts to choke up in the book like while she's reading it. Okay, well, our power just went out, so we are restarting. That was fun. Like such an exciting time.
Mid-sentence.
I honestly don't even really remember where I was at, but the book is really good. And I don't want to say too much to like ruin it for the people who do want to go read it, but I highly recommend it. I bought the physical book and I own it on Audible, so I was a huge fan.
Yeah, you really liked it. I did not buy the physical book because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to see those words in my house every day, you know, but I did do it on Audible.
Okay.
But more than anything, you should just join our book club. You should just listen to all of our book recommendations.
Yeah. But our new book is for March is The Club.
Yeah, which is fiction, right? Kelsi picked this book. So
I picked it because I've been really into like these psychological thrillers lately, and it was giving me that. So, and it's also part of Reese's book club. So like same. Smartest Sexy book club, Reese's book club.
Yeah.
We're just all, and so I figured because it was part of Reese's book club, it's going to be turned into either like a show or a movie because she does that. So I'm definitely excited to kind of get into that one, but you can listen to it on Audible or you can read it with us. It is on our Amazon storefront in our book section.
Yeah. I wonder if Reese reads her books first and then picks them. Maybe we should start doing that because we read them with the audience. So, you know, it's like we all find out together how the book was.
Yeah, but like then you follow the journey. But that's the book club.
That's true. You do follow the journey. Okay, you guys. Today we're talking about anxiety, and I think a good place to start is what anxiety actually is because it's like a trending word these days. I feel like everyone always uses anxiety, anxious. You know, I just feel like we use it a lot more so now than
ever before.
100%.
Granted, I blame COVID. And the fact that I think we're soft.
I agree that we're soft. And then I agree COVID obviously too. But I think also just even a little bit before COVID, like, you know, there was just like this like rise in like everyone talking about it, which is good. Cause like I think it's important to be more open about mental health so that people who are suffering don't feel alone. But then I also feel like the words then naturally start to get overused or misused. And then now we don't even really know what it is all the time.
Yeah.
Some of us.
And I also think that when we focus on something, it expands. So like
100%.
when you're focusing on your anxiety, it does expand. I know I even have to catch myself and be like, okay, chill out. Like you can move past this. This is not that big of a deal.
Right.
But there are also so many different types of anxiety. I was actually doing a little bit of research and it's not just like, oh, I feel anxious and I'm like having like social anxiety or, you know, you can feel it physically. There are like actually like 7 different types of like clinical anxiety. So it's crazy. And I honestly am not going to like get into all of them, but different like forms of it can come from like feeling nervous or restless, having a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom. Wow, doom. That sounds really...
Yeah.
This was all from the internet what I was gathering. But like having an increased heart rate, breathing rapidly, feeling really tired or weak.
Yeah.
But these are all forms of like how it affects you physically. And I am someone where like it like sits right in my chest where like it feels like I have a big fat cat. sitting on my chest.
A big cat.
A big fat cat.
A big fat cat.
Yeah. Not like an elephant, because that's like a little, like I would die.
Yeah.
But the big fat cat where it's just like feels like this like pressure, and you're like, it is a feeling where I'm like, okay, not a hard time breathing, but just like, okay, there's an extra pressure on me where I'm struggling a little bit more.
I know what you mean, because I used to have really bad anxiety where that is how mine felt. Mine over the past year has honestly changed. It's a lot more like, it's almost like a dull, like linger, as opposed to like a shooting pain. That's kind of how I can express it. It's just like changed, and I'll get like I know I'm anxious about something. Yeah. And it's not like super like physically heavy anymore, but it's still the equivalent. It just happens differently, but it's like a dull like linger, and I like know it's there. Yeah. And it's like hard to kind of like pull myself to think about something else sometimes, because I'll get like a sense of almost like paralyzed by it. I think, if that's the best way I can describe it.
No, for sure. And it's something that I obviously just, there's some days I'm totally fine. I feel nothing. And then other days it just always like sits in the background. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. I just want this to go away. But I was looking like where it stems from. It can be genetic, so it can be passed down. It can be brain chemistry, environmental factors, medical conditions, substance abuse, which I think can cause it, but then also like add to it, and then personality traits. So I'm like, oh great. So I have so many ways that this could be a problem.
100%. And I think too, so this is kind of where we run into like this crossroads, is there's like, if you look it up, you find like, oh my God, there's so many things that can cause it. And you kind of like, it's almost like a placebo effect into making yourself believe that you have it, you know? And it's like, it is so important to be like open with yourself and non-judgmental and surrender when you have it. But it's also so important to be like, okay, I'm not going to make this a personality trait. I'm not going to claim this, like, because I used to do that years ago. I used to say, oh, I have anxiety. And then I started saying, okay, I'm experiencing anxiety right now. Like, put some distance in between you and it. Yes. So that it's not a personality or like a character trait.
So you are not it, but you are experiencing it, because when you experience something, that experience can pass, versus when you are something, you are that thing that you are claiming.
And it's interesting too, because I see a lot of content around anxiety, which again, this is twofold. On one side, it's good that we're drawing awareness to it and people have more things to reference and more ways to learn about it. But at the same time, if we're somebody who is creating a lot of content based on being an anxious person, or you're spending a lot of time saying I'm an anxious person, then you are you're conditioning yourself to continue being that way.
No, it's true.
So it's like that crossroads,
Yeah. And I definitely think that there are some things that make it worse. And I definitely know that like any drinking is, if you are someone who does struggle with anxiety, drinking is like the worst possible thing that you can do for it, because it may numb it, like you have a glass of wine or a cocktail and it's fine like in the moment, but the next day the way that it just festers in your body is so bad for
anxiety.
Another thing that I was reading about is social isolation. And I mean, this might be like people are going to really probably be upset with me for saying this, but I think we saw a huge rise in anxiety due to COVID and isolating. And I think that actually isolating ourselves from others did more harm than good.
Of course. I mean, not only did we all isolate and not have like the friendships and like the relationships, but we were also just like getting so heavily programmed with so much fear from the media, and like also like fear about being around other people that we love. Like there's probably so many things that we all came out way more fucked up from COVID, and we probably don't even realize all the ways, as like a collective. But that isolation, I mean, I can't imagine having lived alone.
We lived together
that period.
So we had each other, and we at least like had each other to keep, well, I say we kept each other sane, but honestly that might be pushing
we
it.
Did we did
we might have gone insane together.
That's also true. But I think that anxiety as a whole, as a collective, has probably gone up since COVID, because that was insane. And then it was hard to afford things, you were losing your job. There were so many factors that made us all so anxious. I can't even imagine. I would be so curious to see what the statistics are before and after.
And like you said, I think that we all talk about things a lot more in like a more of an open way now, which is great. But then because we talk about it more, it just like that energy just circles more. And I do think it's important to talk about it. But I also think that at some points, like, we've become a little bit soft. So something that I use every single morning is my Calm app. For like guided meditation. I'm not great at meditating, as far as like, it's really challenging for me to just sit and listen to like some song and then just do it on my own. So I do a guided meditation, but I came across Dr. Julie Smith, and she has the thing on the Calm app where you can do different like lessons, and some of them are guided meditations with breathing, but then other ones are she helps you to do like some journaling. And a lot of it is like addressing the negative thoughts and like writing them down and like looking at it. One of the things she talked about was write down a negative thought and write down like the percentage in which like that thought feels so real to you. So like, say you're like, I am really ugly. I'm using this as an example. I'm really ugly. And if you believe that, like, you put down 90% and then you have to actually write down like facts as to like, or evidence as to what makes that so true.
Right. That's a good one.
And then you have to pretend you're a lawyer. Like, she has a whole thing where you then pretend you're a lawyer to go in and tell yourself that you're not ugly. Like, you have to like basically like counter all of the evidence that you found. And if that's something that gives you anxiety, like the way that you look, or like, you know, whether it be your weight or money, like you have to find the negative thought that is bringing you anxiety.
That's a good thing too to do, just because like our brains run off of confirmation bias too. So like if you have a thought like, oh, I'm, you know, stressed about, or I'm never going to make any money, or anything that is anxious, you know, I'm going to be alone, I have so much trouble dating, whatever it is, you're going to find reasons to confirm that. So when you make lists like that, when you make a list of like every reason why that's bullshit, then your brain starts looking for reasons why it's bullshit. And so, because all our brains are doing all the time is just looking for confirmation bias. So if you don't call it out to yourself and like physically say, this is why this is bullshit, you'll just think that it's your reality.
Yeah. And something that she said that I really liked are, thoughts are not factual statements about the world. Thoughts are influenced by our past. And they're not like, thoughts are not real. They're not real things. They're our own, like, it's not evidence. It's not like, oh, I just thought this, so this is real. Like, that's actually, but we do that. We sit and think about ourselves, and that thought festers, and then we make it feel like, oh, this is a real thing I just created in my head.
And the other thing too that is so important to know is that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are separate than who you are. And that's something that is like, that's like essentially the premise of The Power of Now. Is he says that he's like, I was super depressed, like super unhappy, and I realized that I was like hearing myself think. And then he was like, wait, if I'm hearing myself think, then I am not that, because I can hear it. So that's a separate thing. And then once he realized, okay, I am not my thoughts, I can hear them, but you can also like pick and choose. You know, you can have a thought and you can let it go, or you can have a thought and you can keep it. You can keep it pushing, or you can move on it, but you are not your thoughts. They're separate entities. So having that, like, distinguishing that is a good place to start too.
Some advice that I got from a person a really long time ago when I was going through a period where I was feeling really anxious, the person told me, and this, I've always said, like, oh my gosh, like, your feelings are always valid. She told me, she's like, your feelings are not valid.
Right.
And I loved hearing that for myself, because I was thinking, oh wow, like, all of these like anxious feelings or these negative thoughts I'm having, they're not valid and they're not real. And that helped me a ton.
Yeah.
Because then I was able to distance myself from what I was thinking and being like, oh yeah, this is just my head. This is just my brain just running in circles.
It's also so important to learn that you naturally, every like human naturally wants to be right. It's programmed in who we are, because it's the key to survival, like back in the day. Like the cavemen, they had to be right, you know, because if they hear something, they need to know if it's threatening their survival. So we naturally want to be right. So when we're anxious and we're thinking the worst of something, even though you like don't want it to happen, your subconscious still wants to be correct. And so you'll go and seek ways to make sure that you're right, because something in our brain says, if I'm right, I'm safe. Because then I know if I'm right and I know that there's a threat and I'm right, then I can protect myself or whatever. But sometimes it's really not there. Like we create problems that are not there and we just worry. And there's that quote that I love. I forget who says it. He's like, 99% of my worries never even happened. And I always think about that because there's so many things I've worried about in my life that never even happened. I just stress myself out.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like that sucks that we do that.
Yeah.
Like
it's annoying.
It is super annoying. And it's like, why even worry about something? Like once it happens, then you can worry about it and then figure out how to fix it. But like a lot of our stress and the anxiety is things that have never happened, will never happen. It's literally just our thoughts.
It's anticipation too. Like we stress ourselves out anticipating something, and it's never even that bad. Well, I mean, even when things do happen, like I have been in situations where I'm like anticipating something and I'm so stressed out. Like for example, if you're in a relationship and your significant other starts changing and you get really anxious, right? And then you come to the place of like, hey, yeah, you have a talk with your significant other and they're like, yes, I have been off. We need to have a conversation. You'll find that like the worst part was the anxiety about it. Like once you just face whatever you have going on, you realize that like, okay, I can handle whatever situation I'm in. But when we freak ourselves out, like that's always so much worse than like just going through whatever we have to go through.
Yeah. Versus like, and the anticipation of it. And then we're like, actually, that wasn't that bad. The harder part was the before where I was doing it to myself.
I used to do it, honestly, like a small example with laser hair removal. I would be so anxious the whole day. Like I would freak out.
Really?
Yeah. In the beginning when I was brand new to it, because I used to get like so scared, you know, because it's like you're lasering like intimate areas of your body. And I was like, I would panic all day long. And then I would go in, it would take 5 minutes and it was not bad at all. And I was like, okay, I just spent the whole day panicking.
And like I had a terrible day.
Yeah.
In anticipation of this thing that was not even that bad.
Not even that
That's
bad.
so funny. I didn't know that.
I used to do that with laser hair removal.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So anyways.
Well, another thing so TikTok just like, man, really taken over my life, I gotta tell you. But I was on TikTok and I found this girl who was talking about how our gut health can affect our anxiety. Because I'm gonna read this just so I don't like butcher it, but our gut and our brain are connected through a gut brain axis, which involves communication between the gut microbiota.
Microbiome. I don't know.
Like I'm not a doctor, but you know, here I am.
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. I'm just like spewing facts that I don't really understand, but here we go. But when I read that, I was like, wait, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, maybe my gut health is fine and it's not connected to my anxiety. Cause like, this is just like studies that they've done. So it's not for every single person, but I'm over here being like, okay, but anything I can do that's going to keep me so I'm not getting anxious.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on. So my goal for this year was to really focus on like my overall like gut health and just health of my body, because I'm like, okay, I'm getting older and I want to make sure that I'm taking really good care of myself so that I'm able to just like live a really healthy, well-balanced life. So I really started to focus on like what I was eating. I've always eaten pretty clean, but that was something I was like, okay, what's good for overall gut health? Like what are the things that we can be, and it's standard things. It's like the things of like, oh, you need to be eating a lot of berries and you need to be having, you know, a lot of vegetables because that's really good for you. We need to stay away from like processed foods and sugar because that really can spark. I mean, it's all things that we know, but I think that we have a lot more knowledge like right at our fingertips or information right at our fingertips. And so we're able to like, we have like ChatGPT, you can literally ask anything. We have Google, we have now, and it's crazy, but TikTok, people go to TikTok to find out like things. You can pretty much Google anything on TikTok.
Yeah, it's like a search engine at this point. Yeah.
So that was something I was like, I'm going to start taking like probiotics and making sure that I'm taking a multivitamin. Like those were things that I was like, I'm going to really focus on for myself to help every day, that you're not like running into situations where you're like, oh shit, I'm feeling really bad.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like I'm just always going to be a holistic wellness girly before like moving on to medicine. Because I feel like if you go to a psychiatrist, like there is a chance that they will try to prescribe you medicine. And I know that because the first time I ever went to see one in my life at 18, 19 years old, immediately within the first session, she said, I think you should be on medication. And
I remember that.
It was
you
crazy.
Called me. I remember what it was that you were going through with your like ex.
Yeah.
That you were like, you called me afterwards. I was like, dude, I don't think that's
crazy.
Right. Like, I don't feel like we need to be like just shoving something into your body.
No.
That's wild.
And, you know, growing up in an Indian household, like my mom is like very big on Eastern medicine.
Yeah.
Like she's like, absolutely not. Yeah. Like you're going to have some tea and turmeric. You know, you're going to have some turmeric. That's the cure for everything in her house. But no, also that was just never an option. And I never, ever, ever, ever took medication. But I also think that it's so important that everybody does look at like natural wellness and like holistic wellness, because there's just so many issues with like big pharma and pushing medication and all of that. It's just something I like really don't believe in. And there's so many natural ways to help with anxiety. Meditation, obviously, going on walks, acupuncture, yoga.
You guys, being outside is literally one of the best things you can do.
Being in the sun,
like a solid dose of vitamin D.
10 minutes in the sun every morning, your whole life will change. It hasn't been sunny at all in LA, so I haven't had any sun in like a long time. And you know what's interesting is I actually noticed that it had an effect on me, because normally it's very warm. I sit in the sun or I go for long walks. That's like something I do. And it was so cold and so rainy here for so long and very gloomy. I didn't have any sun and I wasn't going on walks. And I noticed a big dip in my mental wellness.
Isn't there like a statistic for like people who live in like Portland and Seattle, like those areas where it's just like it's gloomy all the time?
Yeah.
Like you have to be taking vitamin D as like a form of like a vitamin, because you
probably
really will be depressed.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, sunlight does so much. There's so much good that it does for us. And there's like a ton of like negative connotation around sunlight now, because everyone's like worried about their skin and stuff, but there are so many benefits of being in the sun.
Just wear some SPF, like a high thing of SPF, and you'll be solid.
Yeah,
but like
easily.
We do need a little bit of sun. I'm not saying you need 100%. To like sit out and bake in it, but you do need some sun.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think there's, like you said, we don't need to just like be turning right to medicine. Drugs, because that's what they are pushing on you. But I think that we can really like focus on like the more holistic route. How do you think he's doing? Do you think he's just like really cozy? And
for anyone listening, 40 is sitting on my lap,
snuggled, like, and he's just really,
this is his favorite location.
Yeah, he's happy as can be.
He's a happy guy. But something when I used to go to therapy, my therapist and I like worked on different ways to relieve my anxiety, and she gave me like a lot of good alternatives. So one is called square breathing. This is actually very helpful. You basically picture a square, you can draw it or just imagine it in your head, and you do 4 counts of an inhale. So you inhale, count to 4, exhale, count to 4, inhale, count to 4, exhale, count to 4. So you just imagine like going around a square basically. So it's like one line and then next line, you know, like
do the
inhale,
rest for us. I like
exhale.
It.
That's really helpful just because it like regulates your nervous system. And also the other thing too that's really helpful if you're a super anxious person is talking to someone who has a calm nervous system. So like you and I have a rule in our friendship and our business partnership that only one of us can freak out at a time. And really what this does for us is it just allows the other person's calm nervous system to regulate ours. So if one of us is stressed out or freaking out or panicked, even if the other person feels the same way, they have to fake it. And it works.
It does. It does
works.
work. And I also think just like having other people, and I know that if there's ever been times that you have kind of freaked out and I have to be the calm one, then I have to go put even my stress, because I can feel it too, because typically it's around work. We own the same company, so we share the stresses, but I may have to go put it off on someone else so I don't put it off on you, and vice versa.
Right.
Because I have to be there to hold you down, or you have to be there to hold me down.
100%.
But then I might float away, so I need someone else. So like you have to have people in your life that can keep you grounded and have have that calmness.
And I think it's really important to take steps to try to solve this. So obviously there's always a time to surrender and just feel down. If you want to feel down one night, then feel down, that's fine.
For sure.
But at a certain point, we do have to say, okay, I'm going to implement solutions, because there's a difference between giving yourself grace and just being a complete victim and letting something take over your life.
Yes. And it's like a fine line. So I was thinking about this because we were talking about this last night, and I was thinking about like, what is the difference, and when do you know you've gone too far? To me, giving yourself grace will feel peaceful. Becoming a victim to a certain situation, any situation, will make you feel really shitty. And it won't feel good anymore to be the victim.
Yeah. And I think that's also about, trusting your intuition and also trusting yourself to come out of something. And that's why it's good, circling back to what we said before, say I'm experiencing anxiety instead of I have anxiety, or taking ownership of it, because then you're telling your brain, I'm coming out of this. I'm in an anxious place right now, but it's going to end. Yeah. And just knowing that and believing that is very helpful. And I think also at a certain point, what happens to me, and this works for me, I don't know if this is going to work for everyone, but once I kind of do it and I surrender to it and I let it be there, at a certain point I say, okay, no more. You're done now. You are not going to let this take over your life. You're not going to be this person. So I'm just going to say, no, I'm not anxious anymore.
No.
And you just kind of decide. I mean, that works for me. I don't know that that's a solution to everyone, but I definitely think there's a difference. You can't live there forever.
Yeah. So I have this little fact app on my phone, and I just thought this was really cute, so I want to share. Okay. But the fact app came up, it popped up on my notifications, and it said, holding the hands of a loved one can holding the hand can help you feel less stress and less worry. And then I was thinking back, all my Grey's Anatomy people, I was thinking back to an episode that Owen was if you watch Grey's Anatomy, you'll know who I'm talking about. But Owen was having a panic attack, and Christina comes in the room and hugs him really tight to calm his nervous system. So I Googled this to make sure this was real, but it is a thing. Hugging can help calm your nervous system because it releases oxytocin. You guys I have to read this because it's just a lot of doctor terms. And
Are you in Grey's Anatomy?
Am I in Grey's Anatomy?
You're you know all the terms.
Yeah, I actually have a pair of scrubs. Yeah. And I just scrub in when they need me. You just
know all of them.
Bro, to be an extra in that show, whoa, that'd be sick.
The hugging thing makes sense though, because think about when you're kids, how do your parents relieve your stress? They give you a hug.
Yeah. And oxytocin is called the cuddle hormone.
Yeah.
Which is really cute.
Yeah, that is cute.
Oh, that kind of made me feel happy to know that, which I then sent a screenshot of it to Mance because I was like, hey, this is why I need lots of hugs.
Yeah, that's funny.
And he's like, yeah, that sounds about right. But I just thought it was cute.
It is cute.
I thought there's so much stress in life. And if you do experience anxiety, to have something where you're so simple, it's wow, you can be hugged.
Right.
It does come back to being our little selves and just taking care of your inner child. So I really liked that. I thought it was really
so
cute.
True. Another thing to do too is what my therapist used to always say. She would say, you cannot lead with both fear and love at the same time. One is always going to be in front, so you have to pick. So another thing that helps combat anxiety is immediate gratitude. So it's oh my God, I'm super anxious about work, or I'm super anxious about this relationship or whatever. So one thing you can do immediately is, okay, but I'm very grateful that I'm healthy. I'm very grateful that I can go for a walk right now because I have working legs. Not everyone has those. I'm very grateful that I have, I'm not laying in a hospital bed, or that I have my loved ones around me, or that I have a job, anything like that. The minute you start doing that, you can no longer also be in the place because you're immediately overwhelmed with gratitude for those things. You can't do both at the same time. So she used to always say that you can't lead with fear and love at the same time. You have to pick. So that's something that really helps as well.
I like that. Yeah. Okay. So along with all the things that you should be doing, TikTok, using it as a search engine, I started looking up vitamins you could be taking. So I started implementing a ton of different vitamins to see what was going to help me. Yeah. But the thing that came up huge was magnesium, to be taking. And then I got in to town and I'm hey, we both want the same magnesium. hey, we both bought this. Hey, we both bought this. I'm like, oh, our algorithms are really synced right now.
Real similar. Yeah, I bought the magnesium too. Mine just came like 3 days ago, so I'm like brand new to it. So I don't know how it affects me
I've been
yet.
using it for like a week and a half, and I have to say that not that I am not experiencing anxiety, but it's really short, like little spouts, and I'm able to like recognize it quick and get it under control, where I'm like breathing or doing the gratitude thing. Like I'm able to pull myself out before I get too deep of a place where I'm like, oh, I feel really bad.
I'm excited to try that. The other one when I used to have really bad anxiety, I would do this combination of passion flower, which is all natural. You can get it at Whole Foods. And I would do something, it's called anxiety-tea. We always call it Anxie tea based off the way it's spelled.
Not the name.
It's not the name.
But it's top tier. But it has a bunch of different like components, vitamins in it that they recommend taking
to fight anxiety. So if you take 2 pills of Anxie tea, which we can put in our Amazon shop, it's already there. Okay. And then if you take 2 of the passion flower, and again, these are all natural. I used to see a big difference from this. This used to really help me. I haven't done it in a while, but those ones are also really good.
I feel like too, I've been trying to do things every single day so I don't wait to the point where I get really, really bad.
Right.
I, of course, get up and I meditate in the mornings while I like steam my face, but I meditate as well. I do a guided meditation with my Calm app. And then my mom got me this like calming essential oil, and I put it on my temples and on my wrist. So like anytime I'm feeling, this could be a placebo effect, but when I'm feeling anxious, I'm like, oh, I need my oils. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. Like who knows if it's actually really doing anything, but in my head it is that I'm like, okay, so it does.
But to me, like work. Placebos work because if it gets the job done, whether it's real or it's a placebo doesn't really matter at that point because it worked.
Because the job is done.
Right.
I am no longer feeling the anxiety that I once was.
Right, exactly.
So that is huge. The other thing that and this is going to be different for every person, I will delete Instagram off of my phone for really long periods of time. Like won't have it on my phone for like 2 weeks because I recognize that when I'm taking way too much social media, I do not feel good about my life, about myself.
Same.
And I'll keep it on like for work purposes where I'll like get on my iPad and just check it at the end of the day. But I really do try to stay off it as much as possible because it makes me feel really bad about myself.
Yeah. So I don't have that problem with Instagram. I have it with TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok makes me feel a little confused sometimes and like a little shitty about myself, which is
confused is a really good way to put it. It
makes me feel confused because I don't know what I should be paying attention to because I'm getting the craziest like influx of like things that seem like they should have my attention, you know, based off of like the way the app is designed and how quick everything is and the quick bites and the jump cuts and everything. So TikTok was doing that to me for a long time and I knew I wanted to get off of it, but I could also tell I was addicted to it. Like it wasn't even like a conscious choice. I would just open it up for like entertainment. And I am much better now, but like I'm somebody who is really in touch with like myself. Like I'm really like aware of my own feelings, you know? And I knew, like, I could literally tell when I was using TikTok, like, I feel like shit about myself. I know I'm comparing myself and I don't know where my focus should be because everyone is like, you know, based on this algorithm, I'm like, should I be focusing on this or on this or on this? And I would just feel confused. And so that one really did that to me a lot. And I had to realize like, okay, we cannot be on this, you know, and I know like we have to do it a little bit for work and stuff, but I just have to find a balance with it because it makes me really anxious.
I completely agree. It's really challenging. I am on it. Like it's hard. I have to catch myself when I am on it too much. I'm just scrolling when I'm like, I could be doing something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. So for me, it was Instagram. I haven't come to that like thing with TikTok yet. Maybe I do. And then I have to do the same thing with TikTok where I remove it from my phone. But I'm like, that is in my power and within my control.
Oh yeah, this is my phone.
I pay the bill. Yeah. I pay this bill, not TikTok.
Yeah.
When TikTok starts paying my bills, then maybe we'll have a different conversation. But right now I pay this bill. So we're removing this because it doesn't feel good.
And it's up to us. Like I know when I'm reading a good book and I'm in it, nothing in the world feels better. When I'm on a walk, nothing feels better.
100%.
When I find flow, nothing feels better. When I listen to my meditation music and I like clean my room, I feel so good. When I use social media, I feel like shit. So I had to tell myself, like, you know, you're addicted to this. Obviously, it's designed for that exact purpose, but you have to break it. No one's going to come break this cycle for you, you know, and get honest with yourself. Because I knew I could literally feel the difference.
For sure. And I think that also kind of brings, it's not even just social media. Like, you need to be paying attention. Like, okay, social media is not making you feel good. Okay, but what you need to pay attention to the people who you surround yourself with. If you're surrounding yourself with certain individuals, when you leave, you feel anxious and not good about yourself. You know what? That's a choice. Cut those people out of your life, or keep it really limited where you don't talk to them as much.
Yeah.
Family members. I know certain people, like, man, my mom makes me feel so anxious. I mean, I am obsessed with my mother. That doesn't, but there are some people that like they feel that. It's like social situations, friends,
everything that you
everything
take,
that, like, whatever it is. There's certain movies that I was watching White Lotus, the second season. I watched season 1 and I liked it. And so we were watching season 2, and there's a lot of cheating on their spouse. And it gave me so much anxiety, because that is one of my triggers because of my past relationship, that I was like, I told Mans, I was like, I don't want to watch this show anymore. I don't need to finish watching it just because it doesn't make me feel good. It's making me feel anxious. It's putting negative thoughts into my head.
Well,
and I don't need to consume that.
I have the same thing with hospitals. That's why I have never watched Grey's Anatomy. That's why I don't watch anything, because I hate I don't like hospitals. I don't like sickness. I don't like anything. I won't watch movies about disease or sickness. And honestly, if I am watching something and there is a ton going on with like sickness in hospitals, I'll turn it off. Because that's the same thing. I'm like, I know I don't like this. Yeah. So I don't need to intake this.
Anything that has to do with cheating, I'm like, just because this is entertainment, I'm not entertained.
I'm not entertained. That's how I feel about hospital shows.
Yes.
I'm like, I could never watch Grey's.
Pay attention to like the things that you don't like within movies and shows, and even sometimes books. There's certain books that like, if there's a lot of cheating going on on like a spouse or in a like a monogamous relationship, it makes me feel really, really uncomfortable.
No, I literally have the same thing. If there's a book about somebody with a disease, I'm not reading it. That shit stresses me out so much. I'm not touching that.
And those are forms of entertainment. So I'm not going to like suffer through it just to say that I watched it or finished the book. For then having a ton of anxiety.
Hell no, not worth it at all. I totally agree with that.
So I definitely think it's just like so important overall to pay attention to like the things that are triggering you to like experience anxiety versus like just like going through it. It's like, if this doesn't make you feel good, then don't do it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. You tell him.
Yeah. Don't do it.
This is your show.
This is your life.
No, but you know what? Last thing, that is something I have to remind myself. Like when I'm like in a spiral, like I'm scrolling too much, or like I'm very like within other people's energy and I don't feel like myself. I'm like, bitch, this is your life. You are the only person who gets to decide. You don't want to watch something. This isn't making you feel good. Put it down. You want to go for a walk, go for a walk. You want to go back home, go back home. This is your life. Like you don't need to operate under these like made up rules that you have to be friends with these people or you have to go out or whatever. And I haven't gone out in so long. I stopped going out like really, I would say like 6 months ago. And I just am like such a homebody now. And guess what? I feel better. Like we don't have to do those things just because other people are doing them.
Yeah. And I think I feel like Los Angeles nightlife like breeds this like anxious, insecure energy because no one really knows who they are.
100%.
And then when you're just in it all the time and you start to question who you are, and I'm like, I actually feel fine. I'm like really happy and secure with my life that I don't need to be around. And there's certain people that I love that I'm around. I'm like, wow, being around you makes me feel so good. And I feel like our conversations are happy and positive, and like they're just you need to take yourself out of it to realize who your people are.
In LA, like, and maybe other big cities, I just haven't lived in any, there's just this like exclusivity, you know, like, and it kind of comes down to like this programming of like, are you good enough, right? Like, are you good enough to get into this club or be invited to this or whatever, or be in this room, yada, 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 which is a bunch of bullshit. And a lot of people in those rooms are very deeply insecure because everyone's playing this game of trying to be cool enough to be good enough. And so then you get around them and you're all sharing energy.
Yeah.
And alcohol's involved for the most part, which is just also a way that like it just lowers everyone's vibration in the room. So the frequency is really low. So yeah, living in LA, like it's very easy to end up very insecure.
Yes. And who made you God that you get to decide who's cool enough? Like that to me is insane. And you know what? I am not cool enough to hang out with any of you. So that's why I stay home. Like I am not cool.
And I honestly don't want to be.
I feel super fine being my lame self that like on a Saturday night, we stayed home on a Saturday night. We worked. We drank tea.
Oh, last night.
I did my skincare
I was like, who's
routine.
we? And then it was me.
The two of us. Last night.
No,
We were
last
together.
night. You know, you're right.
But it's like my Saturday nights look so different now. And I love it. I am so much happier sitting inside. I am not outside.
I have zero FOMO. I literally have like the joy of missing things.
I only get FOMO when I know that like there's a really fun activity, like someone's gonna like go to an escape room.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Wait, I don't want to miss out. Like that is the stuff that I miss out on. Where I'm like, wait, you guys are all like gonna go bowling?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
No.
But I don't have FOMO ever of missing out.
I don't have
on
FOMO,
things.
and it's almost like I almost get worried sometimes about the fact that like I don't care enough. I'm like, you should care about missing some things, and it's like I just don't. I don't care.
No,
I have FOMO of like not being in like on the Amalfi Coast. I have that FOMO.
Yeah,
you know,
or like not going to like Italy. And, like, eating cheese.
I'm like I'm trying to be in like Monaco.
Yeah,
you know, in my Bugatti. But like aside from that, I don't have much FOMO.
I feel sad like that. Like maybe like to have like a really fun day on the beach and like lay out. Like that sounds fun when I would look at other people.
Those
doing
other things
that.
are just triggering anxiety. It's like we got to get rid of them.
No.
Anyways, you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to that talk.
Wrapping up. Oh, wow, I really wanted to like roll that R, but that didn't work out for me very well. Okay, anyways, wrapping up. What is your sexy this week?
Okay, so lately I have been on my meditation game. I'm actually the opposite than you because I don't like the guided. I like the music.
Okay.
But so I made this when it was raining. I went and I made myself a meditation playlist because I have a few different ones, but I made a specific one that's more on like the sensual side, which this is very hard to explain because they're all just meditation beats. So I don't know like what the word is. Maybe it's like a different frequency, but it's like less calming, more like sensual. I don't know how to explain that except for saying that. And I've been like, at night, I've just been like lighting candles and like dimming the lights and putting that playlist on. And I've even been playing it while I work, and I'll make a cup of tea. And it's just like this very like sensual, this is like a weird way to explain it, but like it's like a sensual moment with yourself. I put it on, I do after I shower. So I'll turn off my lights, put on just like my salt lamps and stuff, and then I'll shower. And this is just like my self-care. And then I'll do like my body oil and my lotion, but I do all of it to this playlist, like with candles. And it's kind of just like me giving back to myself.
Yeah.
And so that's my sexy right now. And the
Which
reason
probably also helps with your anxiety.
Oh, it's life-changing. Also, 40 loves this playlist because he goes right to sleep. So like the playlist is working. It has a lot. It's doing a lot. I can link it if you guys want it. And like I'll stretch, and it's just that's my thing right now. It's my jam. So
okay, well, mine is like similar but not. Mine has been my skincare routine. Like it is a ritual. Like it is sacred. Like
Ooh,
it
a good
is
word.
It is a sacred thing for me right now. I know we were just talking about like not scrolling as much, but I have found a couple really great products through TikTok where I'm like, this is making me, I bought a few like my skin mucin. I'm obsessed. Like I'm like, it is something I look forward to doing I do it every morning and every night. It is a whole thing, but I love it. It makes me feel so good about myself. My skin feels good. And it is something that, like you said, you give back to yourself. It is something that I do for just me.
And when you do it mindfully, like when you, as opposed to like texting while you're doing it, if you take your time doing it, you have time to be like, wow, like this is me taking care of myself. This feels so good. And you have a new appreciation for yourself.
Yes. Like I'm like, oh, my skin feels good. When I'm doing like my red light therapy, I sit and read my book. Like it's like a whole process now where I'm like, if I don't do it in the mornings, I'm like,
Yeah.
So I've had to get up really early because it's gotten longer.
Yeah. Yes, it's long.
It's long. I was going over it with you last night.
Yeah, it's
like
long.
it is a whole thing. So I had to start getting up really early so that I had time to do it before I actually have to start working. But it's just makes me feel so good. I love it.
Well, I love that. Well, you guys, thank you for being here today. Comment on our Instagram with your sexy and your good news minute.
Yeah, thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Thank you.
You guys, please rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend. You guys passing this around just makes it so much fun when we hear people say things like, wow, this is my new favorite podcast. I love hearing that. Go subscribe on YouTube because our subscribers are growing.
They are growing. You can find us on Instagram at Smart as Sexy, also on TikTok and YouTube at Smart as Sexy by KCH. Thanks so much.